Hey Snackers, this is Kareem Iskander.
Hey everyone, Matt DiNapoli here.
Welcome to episode 186 of Snack Minute.
It's been a while, but Allison has been with us before.
Yes.
She's one of our very well-versed sandbox engineers. We had Mike Mackay on, the director of our sandbox group at DevNet here a few weeks ago, and he kind of gave us a reintroduction to sandbox. And we thought it'd be cool to have Allison come on today and talk about kind of behind the scenes of DevNet Sandbox and how she is one of the lead engineers, helps automate the infrastructure that Sandbox puts out there for you. So Allison, for the newbies, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself,
Yeah,
and then
sure.
we'll jump right into it.
I think that the last time I was on Snack Minute was actually before we even did our big migration. So this is all going to be completely new from the last time I was here.
Woohoo.
So my name is Allison. I work in backend operations. I am a senior automation engineer for DevNet Sandbox. I work making sure that everybody, like all the pieces fit together, doing a lot of architecture around what things should look like and how things should flow between different pieces. And so that's really what I'm gonna show today. We are currently in the middle of setting up a Nutanix cluster, where I'm really excited to get a Nutanix cluster because everything is going to be API automation first, which is a big change from our current vCenter setup. But what I wanted to show today was specifically around how over the past year, 2 years, year and a half, we've been moving towards modularizing basically everything we do. We went from a setup where basically everything was custom made. Different people maintain different things. It's all exists in like single places. Nobody really knows where everything is or how it all fits together. To something that's a lot more modularized and a lot more streamlined. So what I'm showing here, this is actually, so part of what I'm going to be showing is going to be from stuff that Eddie and Mike built for their Cisco Live demo. And basically just kind of talking about how like modularizing things and building models, like using model-driven architecture and infrastructure has made our lives so much easier. So when I say like a model-driven, basically what I'm talking about is similar to like a Kubernetes manifest or like an Ansible playbook. Basically like a YAML file that states what the desired state of our infrastructure is. So this one here, you can see this is for a demo vCenter VM. Basically what this will do is in the backend, if I were to launch this, it will just create a vCenter VM as well as all of the infrastructure, the folder, DB port group, that kind of stuff that I need to be able to run that. So if we look, I don't really ever use the canvas mode. When I'm looking at this, I'm mostly looking at it as the YAML mode. So just want to point out a couple of things here. So basically in this model for this VM, we've tried to go through and dumb this down to like the bare minimum inputs that we need. So here, my inputs here, the only thing I need to be able to actually start this VM are the VLAN ID that we're going to be using, the name of the cluster to provision the VM on, and what I should call the VM. And these are the only inputs that I need. So when we go in and we spin up hundreds of VMs every day. And most of them go through something like this. This is backed by Terraform. So this will go through a couple different layers of abstraction to create all of our resources in the backend and to spin up the VM with everything that we need. But the reason that this is really cool is because, so this will spin it up in vCenter. I have basically the same thing that I have for a Nutanix VM. So you can see the modules are a little bit different. I don't have to create all of the like backend like folders and stuff for Nutanix because they use different APIs, different project structures and stuff like that. But like the basic interface that I'm using is basically the same, right? I'm giving it the cluster name, the clone name, and the VLAN ID. And that's it. That's all I need. So if I have a blueprint, so this is like a full one. This one right now is using my vCenter VM. If I launch this right now, this would go and spin up a vCenter VM in our backend. But I can just as easily just swap this out. If we look at our building blocks library, I've got one. This is going to be my Nutanix VM. I can easily just hook this up and adjust a couple of inputs, and then this VM will come up in Nutanix instead. So as we're looking to like actually spin up stuff in Nutanix, this is going to make our lives so much easier because it's literally everything is building blocks basically. It's all going to be super easy to just kind of like drag and drop stuff behind it. I've been chatting a lot. I don't know. I'm very excited about this.
So just to give our snackers a little bit of insight, Allison is showing us a platform called Quali. We've been working with them for over a decade now, trying to set up scenarios where people can use our sandbox in on-demand ways. And they've been progressing through and giving us the opportunity to build things out in these modular ways that Allison had mentioned. But I think the lesson that we want to make sure we get across here is there's various opportunities. You don't need to go through Quali, but conceptually, what Allison is showing us is there's these opportunities if we start to think about our infrastructure automation as parts and pieces that need to be stitched together. We can do that through Ansible. We can do that through Terraform. There's other platforms that help us out with this. But that we also have these opportunities to scale up and scale down the interactions with the infrastructure and what we need for specific operations. And obviously from the DevNet Sandbox side, we don't know at any given point during a day what the on-demand needs are going to be for a specific sandbox. And so as we build this solution out, and this is kind of, I think, the cool thing that the snackers will appreciate is getting us to a point where you can say, I want these various pieces to, so maybe I need Catalyst Center and iOS XE sitting behind it. And then I want to add in ICE, but I also need a VM to run some services. We can start to set up situations where we can pick and choose those opportunities to build out those custom sandboxes.
And looking at it from the outside, I think, and I'm trying to understand, as somebody that's a user of the sandbox, first of all, congratulations on drinking your own champagne.
Yeah, right.
DevNet has been talking about infrastructure as code for years now. Seeing it in production is, just shows that DevNet is a true believer of this. But my question to you, Allison, now, just trying to piece it together. So you define your network, the intent of what you're trying to do in the YAML file. Does that invoke some type of Terraform in the backend that stands up all of this, or is it standing up using the Quali services and stuff?
So if you look at this one, for instance, we've got everything, like at this point, everything is super nested. We're trying to build things out again, like as modularly as we can. But all of this in the backend somewhere is driven by Ansible, Terraform. We can do like native Kubernetes support, shell script support. So all of this is being driven by those kinds of automation. And one of the things that's really cool about this so this is my vCenter one. This one uses Terraform. If I come and look over at my Terraform logs, you can see this is basically like everything that would happen in a normal like Terraform. If I go through the like Terraform init, Terraform plan, Terraform apply, it like shows me all the same outputs. So that is all basically the same. But building it out the way that we are, the Nutanix one, which failed. Which I think that Eddie's in the middle of doing stuff like upgrading the Nutanix stuff. So I wasn't sure if this was actually going to work. But like the fact that like I can have my vCenter VM come up in Terraform and my Nutanix VM come up with the Ansible, right? But it's still all that plug and play. We've set it up so that like the basic data structures that we need, it is honestly like if you're familiar with like object-oriented programming, it's really similar to like building out those like classes and objects, but instead of having it be like software functions, it's our infrastructure. It's our networks, our virtual machines. It means that we can have like an Ansible playbook to set up a dev box or to set up a CML instance. That the automation to set up a CML instance doesn't care what platform we're turning in. It doesn't care if our infrastructure is Nutanix or vCenter. It can run on either one, right? So that can be completely abstracted, and we can say, okay, we take the piece out, that's the infrastructure, and then have that run however we want it to, and then have a separate script that will then go in and do the actual like configuration for the automation. So this is how we're doing a lot of our backends, where we have a bunch of things that we're working on, basically building out these building blocks for. Because there's things like CML, right? Like for a really long time, every time you had CML, and at this point we have CML in SD-WAN, we've got it in Catalyst Center. We have a whole, like CML basically powers a bunch of different labs. Traditionally, the way that we would do those is we would have each one be its own unique setup, right? And maybe it's a slightly different version. You have some of them that are on 2.7 and some of them that are on 2.5, etc. But one of the things that we're working on building out is so that everything is just modularized, and we have one singular CML module. And then into that, we can then have a separate customization script that will load in all of the platform wraps, load in the like simulations to actually run, so that we're not having to build and manage all of these separate unicorns, basically, and we can manage them all from a central place. And then that also gives us the ability to eventually have it be more of like a drag and drop, like self-service kind of thing.
That would be amazing.
I think that's the value for the developers or the snackers that are developing on the sandbox, is basically getting to a point where, hey, I want ICE with DNA Center or Catalyst Center, and I want to have some type of container connecting to it, and I can just drag and drop all of that, and it's going to spit out a sandbox for me, and that's huge.
So we're like, right now we've got this built out for a couple different instances. I know Saad and Joe and Ray are working on building this out for so we can have those different modules. So we can have like the CML, ICE, those kinds of like modules, and just have those be like drag and drop. Load up a config on the fly, so that we can enable a lot more flexibility. Because that's something that we get asked for a lot, I feel like, is like, oh, like the sandbox is great, but it only does this one thing, or I need it to do a different use case. And so really being able to like be more dynamic and enable those different use cases is the goal here. And also to reduce, this does a whole lot to reduce our management on the back end for us, because it means that we're not having to juggle, oh man, what CML version is Catalyst Center on, and why isn't it the same as the main CML lab? And so it means that we have to manage a lot less stuff in the back end as well.
That's fantastic.
And because it's all YAML files, it's all in Git, and so it's all versioned, and we can do rollbacks too, which I'm very happy about.
You can tell Allison's excited about this.
I'm very excited about this.
All of the headaches over the years are going away. Allison, unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Snackers, I hope you enjoyed some of this kind of behind the scenes on how the DevNet Sandbox works. All of the engineers that Allison listened during this episode, we'll see if we can bring them on and talk about what their experiences are too.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Oh, I say Eddie's going through a lot. He's having a lot of finding a lot of stuff as he's learning how to set up the Nutanix cluster. So I bet that would be really interesting too. I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, the Nutanix piece of this would be really cool, actually.
Yeah,
he's doing a lot of really cool stuff.
So a lot of cool stuff happening. We'll keep you guys snackers updated with various drop-ins from the DevNet Sandbox team. Allison, thank you so much for joining us today and showing us just a little peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, no problem.
Snackers, we'll see you next time.
Cool.
Thank you all.
See ya.